definitely interesting. I have so much to tell everyone. I swear. Is there a way for me to see a chat in here? Oh, hey, Panda said hi. Panda, can you hear me saying hi back? Oh, hey, okay, there's a window. There's a window that my little program was in front of. Oh, I just moved. Eh, make you guys dizzy. Hi, Candy from Canada, and hello, Panda. Oh, this is crazy. I'm talking to people live. This is the first time I have ever done this if you haven't managed to catch on. Hello from Alberta, antisocial socialist. That checks out with Alberta. Hello, Illyria. Is that how you say your name? Illyria. I'm much less clever when I have no topic to go from. What do you guys want to hear me talk about? I have been working for like the last it's 6 o'clock. I started at like 3 o'clock trying to get TikTok live working with the program that I use to do the puppet. Hello, Mike. How are you doing? You have so many flags. Your passport must be enormous. That's how passports work, right? Oh wow, several people have joined. It keeps saying that people have joined. And then it says top viewers, but it doesn't tell me everyone who's joined. Um, oh wow, how do I already have 89 likes on this? You people have low standards. Yeah, well, it wasn't easy, Illyria. I I had to I do the puppet in Adobe Character Animator, and then I had to get this program called NDI Tools, and so that takes the feed from Adobe Character Animator and that puts it into Chicken Have I Heard. I've heard so many things. Are you talking about a specific thing? But then I was going to use Meld Studio, and that didn't work. So then I had to get Streamlabs Desktop, which is what I'm using now. But it was like, hey, give me a stream key. And I'm like, I don't know what a stream key is. It was like, get that from TikTok Studio. And TikTok Studio is only for Windows. Trump is asking other companies to help with their egg shortages to help lower their prices. Oh, yes, I'm sure every country just really wants to help out Trump's America right now. That seems like something everyone is going to want to do. Let's see, they could ask their neighbors to the north if we want to make our eggs more expensive by sending eggs to them. I don't know if we're going to do that. And I guess they could ask Mexico. Maybe Mexico wants to help out with that. Um, yeah, he's asking about asking. Yes, he is asking Turkey. He's asking Turkey for art. Would eggs still be okay by the time they get from Turkey, like the country, to the U.S.? I would think that's a bit of a boat trip. Are they going to fly the eggs? Okay, wait. They asked Denmark. Are you guys just pulling my drumstick? Uh, no. Yeah, I mean, okay, for the record, though, remember, we don't hate all the Americans. We mostly just we want we want Trump to suffer. Ideally, we want people to. Oh, I probably can't say that on TikTok, but I would like America to just go back to being sane adjacent like they normally are. Pass the video from our friends at Midas Touch Talk. Oh, good old Midas Touch. They made me so hopeful that Kamala was going to win the election. I'm still a little bit jaded about that because they were all like, oh, the polls, blah, blah, blah. Though, at the same time, I'm Mr. Hey, I kind of think the election was stolen, so I can't really blame them that much for being hopeful. So they actually did ask Denmark and Turkey. Wow. Did Denmark say, hey, ask us again once you go 2 months without threatening to steal Greenland from us? This is why America needs to teach geography so that presidents can know that if you try and fuck with Greenland, Denmark might get mad at you. Oh, Kyle Kalinske. I love Kyle Kalinske. Do I like fried chicken? No comment. Damn near choked when I watched it. Yeah, maybe that's how Trump's going to invade us. He's just going to keep saying stupid things and hope that we're watching him while eating. New rule, Canadians. Do not eat while watching Trump. Also, try and watch Trump through like secondary or tertiary news sources so that you get as small of clips as possible to help maintain your sanity. Uh, I'm trying to keep up with the chat. Wow, this is a lot more successful than I thought my chat would be the first time I went live. I was like, maybe I'll get. Holy crap! There's 152 people watching. Do you guys not have jobs today? Like, well, I guess maybe a lot of you are off work, or maybe a lot of you are at work, and well, if they had a decent education, Reznov would yeah, no kidding. I am scared, not gonna lie about Trump. I think everyone is scared. I think Ivanka is scared of Trump. Uh, oh my. Okay. Wow, this is 746 likes. Okay, wait, 746 likes, but 163 views. 1,000 likes on 100. Can you guys like multiple times, or are people coming in liking and then being like, this is boring and running away? TikTok's numbers always confuse me. Okay, so Candy is off work and was doom scrolling. Pro tip, sometimes it can be a good idea to go for a walk instead of doom scrolling. And I totally, definitely do that. I don't just sit here all day thinking of video ideas or then going and watching TV shows and never leaving my apartment. Aw, loving the... Okay, what provinces am I in? I have never said what province I'm in, and I'm kind of trying to avoid doing that. I am in a province, but people on the internet do weird, crazy things when sometimes they fixate on a creator, which is one of the reasons why I have, the Puppet. Also because it's fun, but there's a number of aspects of my life, like, for example, the fact that perfume makes me incredibly sick. So, like, there's all kinds of reasons why I would not want a crazy right-wing stalker to know what province I'm even in. So I'm just going to be really careful with my location stuff. Also because, maybe America invades and let's go looking back at the chat. Chilly in Alberta. I imagine, what's the temperature in Alberta? Are you ethically treated chicken? Do I need to rescue? Sometimes in my life I have been ethically treated, but you don't get this funny if you're always treated ethically. I remember when I did stand-up comedy, I determined that I was not quite self-destructive enough to really make a go of it as a stand-up comic, though I was pretty close. Tapping the screen gives likes to oh, okay, so people keep touching the screen. It's like timed attacks in Mario RPG. But total viewers 241. Wow, I have a new follower from this. How did I get it? Who saw this and was like, yeah, I want to follow that guy? Thank you, I guess. Okay, what are people saying? By the way, if I don't interact with everything that you're saying, I'm sorry. There's a lot more of you than I thought would be on the first time that I do this. That makes sense? That sounds okay, right? I am overwhelmed. Truthfully, I haven't been outside. I'm good. I'm glad you think so. I'm doing great, apparently. I think you guys just like the fact that I'm still talking. How many of you have been diagnosed with ADHD? I have awesome content. Thank you so much. I really try. I've had a couple people be like, how do you not have more followers? And I'm like, well, I have only been doing this for 2 months. Ooh, I'm going to take a sip of water. Can we chat about the misinformation coming out about Carney? You can, sure. I mean, I'm not going to tell you what you can and can't do. You can ask me questions, but keep in mind, I am not Steve Boots. I had someone in the comments say that they thought I was. Someone like him knows way more. I know that I've seen a lot of stuff where the conservatives are like, he still has holdings, he doesn't have holdings, he moved his headquarters, yada, yada, yada. And I don't want to say that I don't care, but at the same time, we knew he was a banker. We knew that he was a business boy beforehand. Like, if somebody tells me that he's, like, still actively sitting on boards of companies and going to meetings while being prime minister, yeah, I'll care about that. But, like, he recently had a job before he came to Canada, and he did exactly what all the other business people do in different situations. I'm not going to care about that, because, like, I don't know. Uh, Not diagnosed yet, but pretty sure I am. Yeah, that goes by my daughter's psychiatrist. Yeah, fun fact: ADHD tends to be hereditary. So if your kids got diagnosed and you're not, don't go assuming that you're not ADHD. Assume that you just managed to cope and mask and whatnot to get around it. Hands up on ADHD positive. Yep. I'm Gen X. I live for poop. Oh, well, that's a choice, I guess. Hi, chicken. Hello, canning Canuck. Please do not can me. What do I like to watch? That is a loaded question. If you're talking about like TV shows, man, a lot. Some of my favorite shows would be like all the Russell T Davies episodes of Doctor Who, even like a lot into the Matt Smith run. Um, uh, ba, ba, ba. I watch a variety of stuff. Ted Lasso, Severance. I like a lot of stuff that's on Apple TV Plus because they tend to just back a dump truck of money up to talented people's houses and say make content for us. There's a lot of TV. I have a big Plex library. I love Mark Carney. Yeah, I definitely prefer Mark Carney over Pierre, obviously. Do be careful with loving politicians, though. Like, you can root for them, but just remember, they're people, and they will eventually let you down if you pay attention. Concerned there is no Minister of Labor. Yeah, I've heard, I mean, I made a video about that. Some people are saying, the Minister of Labor job got rolled into the Jobs and Family role, and it's one of those, like, I don't want to criticize too much. Like, several people in chat comments said that, and I can understand their perspective. At the same time, though, I'm a little concerned that could mean that it's, we're not going to care that much about labor, because realistically, both the Liberals and the NDP have done a lousy job of supporting anyone when they go on strike lately. It's always, well, the whole population needs them to get back to work, and it's like, well, okay, then tell the company that pays them to make less profit and more wages. Okay. Man, I never realized how hard reading a chat would be. I'm just gonna go. Oh, you love my nickname for Danielle Sith? Yeah, that one is very popular. I get probably at least 10 comments a week from someone just saying Danielle Sith and then laughing emojis. I love Trudeau, but his hair and eyes. Yeah, Trudeau is a lot more likable when you just have to look at him and not deal with any bad policies. Though, like, realistically, honestly, Trudeau was like that funny middle ground where, to me, aside from like SNC Lavalin and stuff like that, he was fine. Like, I know if you listen to a conservative go on and on and on, they're gonna have all kinds of things, socks, blah blah blah. But for me, it was like he was fine, nice to look at, but just fine. I'd really love to see Canada actually have more politicians. It's funny because like America is so socially regressive on so many things, but they've got like Bernie Sanders and AOC, and we don't have any. Like, we've got Charlie Angus, but like, give me an AOC, Canada. Like, we can do it. There have to be some, there's got to be at least one waitress-like person who is smart and articulate and can make conservatives very upset with how attractive they are. Like, just AOC is like multiple whole packages. She's great. I love her. But I'm very gay. Like, I love her in a non-creepy way. Abdullah, last name I can't say. I love you, chicken. Be well. Thank you. I love you as much as is appropriate in this situation. You vote for the chicken before. I'm happy that you think I would be a good politician. I would be a terrible politician. I have said so many things on the internet that people would definitely decide mean things that I didn't mean. Like, I don't, like, well, honestly, like, when I was younger, I had, like, a lot of dumb beliefs, like everybody does. Like, whenever people, like, oh, so-and-so needs to be canceled because when they were 18, they said that gays were gross. It's like, you want to see... Well, okay, I shouldn't say that I said a whole bunch of bad things about gays when I was 18, but I thought a bunch of, like... I was an evangelical Christian, and I was very gay, but closeted. So, it's a thing. I don't think anyone should be canceled for anything that they say before 25. Unless they're like 26, but JFT brought me to tears with the tariffs and reaffirming Canada. Yeah, no, man, the guy put in his 2 weeks notice and then did some of the best work he ever did as prime minister. Too bad about Charlie leaving. Yeah, it is too bad, but I will say, like, kudos to somebody who is reaching the end of when they have energy. opening things up for someone else. We just really need the people who like headhunt for new NDP candidates or whatever to really like have standards and maybe encourage candidates to go to an improv class. I love he's burning the house down before he goes. Bro, how do I do the filter? Oh, this is not a filter. This is multiple pieces of software. The puppet took like over a month to design. It is not just a filter. It is an extension of my creativity. Common sense chickens don't make good politicians. Exactly. He's 33. Who's 33? I'm not 33. And I don't think Charlie Angus is 33. Who are we talking about? Hardcase. Oh, is Hardcase in here? She always likes my stuff. Oh, wow, 6,000 likes. You guys keep hitting that little heart button, don't you? Thank you so much. There's a hidden pipeline. Oh, my goodness, there is definitely a hidden pipeline from evangelicalism to anarchism. Actually, so fun fact. I was once in this little, we'll call it a Bible study group for now. It was around, when was it, like, probably late 2007, maybe early 2008, and I was freshly out of Bible college, and I was kind of like trying to start a church with a bunch of random queer people in my city. And so at one point, we've had our thing, and we're just kind of like sitting around talking in my buddy's living room, and there's like, I think, was it 4 or 6? I think it was like 6 of us, and at one point, one of my buddies goes, I've never met a conservative Christian gay boy who wasn't at least a little bit kinky. And it went dead silence. Silent, words. Dead silent. Everyone just kind of looked around, and after like a good 30 seconds, I was like, I love how nobody is objecting. And then everybody just burst out laughing. It was very entertaining. Oh, someone, Hardcase put up her hand. Oh, hello, Hardcase, you are there. JT will be remembered as a great politician. Yeah, I think, like, SNC Lavalин's going to kind of be, like, a little bit of a stain on his legacy, but the history books will kind of be like, oh, hey, a liberal politician was involved in an expensive scandal. Like, that's Tuesday. Can you make my husband one that's a flying purple people eater? I mean, I could. Will I? No, because making a puppet is a lot of work, and then your husband would still need to learn Adobe Character Animator, which has a learning curve. If anyone has like learned how to use Adobe Photoshop and Illustrator and things like that, and they want to try and make a puppet like this, get yourself a copy of Adobe Character Animator and go to it. But it is definitely not a consumer-friendly app. It's tough out there in Christian conservative. Yeah. I grew up Catholic, transitioned to evangelicalism, and now I'm a solace left. Yeah. I find like, so Christianity has a lot of ideas that like can really, really resonate with a kind person. And like, if you understand, like, there's a lot of stuff to like in the Bible. The problem really comes into, can you be around other Christians and not have them be awful? For me, Christians very much were kind of the evidence of a lack of existence of God. Like, there's this idea in Christianity that when someone accepts forgiveness of their sins, that the Holy Spirit comes into them, and the Holy Spirit kind of, terrible metaphor, but keeps cleaning house, has this progressive redemption in a person. And if you spend a lot of time with Christians, you will find that, there are some people who are Christians who are absolutely fantastic, but they're generally not going to be in leadership, or if they are, they're not in leadership for too long. And the more time that you spend with clergy, so your pastors, priests, ministers, yada, 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 the more you start to realize that you don't end up in that role unless you are either like a pathological enabler, or you're a narcissist, or like a flat-out malignant narcissist. At least that's been my experience. Did you see is having a protest? I have not seen that indigenous group whose name I don't want to butcher is having a protest. If they are, I wish them well. I know that generally their protests are always like, hey, please don't poison our drinking water, because it's going to take 7 decades before the federal government cleans up any mess that you make. I find it I was reading an article on CBC a while ago where it was like the RCMP had gone in and they'd arrested a bunch of people, and the judge was like, well, the arrest was good, but the cops shouldn't have said a bunch of racist things while they were doing it, so that's bad. And it's like, yes, nobody should be saying racist things while arresting people. They also shouldn't be saying arrested or racist things out. Like, that should be something that you do not feel comfortable saying at work. But that's not the sort of people we hire as cops. So, Pentecostal, but no. I did. I was raised Baptist and ended up in like the Christian and Missionary Alliance for a while. I was like generic evangelical for a long time. Eventually came out of the closet. I did have like some charismatic influence. I definitely, for a long time, subscribed to a lot of kind of magical thinking around like I used to think that God talked to me because I would have intrusive thoughts, and we don't educate kids well on psychology, so I didn't know that you could have an intrusive thought, and that wasn't a huge sign of any other like bad underlying mental health thing. Because like whenever I like would Google like thoughts in your head that don't sound like yours, you know, the answers would be like, this is what schizophrenia looks like, and I didn't have schizophrenia, so it must be God. It wasn't God. I just often was uniquely empathetic. I would catch kind of like nonverbal cues and stuff that people were having a rough time, and then I would like show up at their dorm room and say like, I think God wants me to ask how you're doing, and then we'd go for a walk, and then they would end up venting a bunch of things and cry and say, I'm so, oh, shit, I probably shouldn't say my name, don't tell anyone that. But they would say like that they were really thankful, and so then I would mistake that for, you know, being a proof that God was speaking to me, when really I was just kinder than average, which is less special but still like nice. Chicken, you are my hero. Cool, thank you. I'm glad I'm your hero. Please don't put me on too high of a pedestal. I will fall and crush you. Encourage my viewers to share my live and invite my friends. I don't think that was a real person saying that. I'm in a town in rural Alberta, right wing, but protesting Danny. That's nice. It's always nice to, like, are you the only person? Alligator YYC? Are you the only person protesting, or like there are a bunch of you protesting? Because it'd be really cool if a bunch of people in rural Alberta were telling Dan Moll that she should leave. Hard case similar? Yeah, that's, sorry. If you're similar to me, that's sad. How am I doing? I made it to a live. Yeah, this is the first live that I've ever done, Damien. Yeah, Damien's been following me for a long time, like pretty near the start. In library, I was deep evangelical, but very, very anti-charismatic. Yeah, it's funny when, like in the 90s, growing up in a conservative environment, liberal nobody, I didn't know what liberal meant. None of my friends knew what liberal meant. So we thought of charismatics as if they were liberal because they were more expressive, blah, blah, blah. And it wasn't until later I got to college and I learned that, you know, charismatic Christians are actually, in a lot of cases, even more conservative than your generic evangelicals. I was like, oh, I was the liberal all along. We could have interesting conversations. Yeah, I bet we could. I enjoy interesting conversations. Hi, chicken. Hello, Lizard Queen. You are the Lizard Queen. I used to be Pentecostal. Oh, I am sorry that you were a Romanist. Especially the used to be suggests that you probably went through some shit. Didn't hear a thing. Thank you. I've been following you for at least a few weeks. Yeah, thanks, Panda. I think I've seen some of your comments. Good evening, Joe Morin? Joe Morin, 73. Anybody know what the little numbers beside your names are? Like, not the Joe Morin, but like Joe has a 16 by his thing. Killer Q says, hi, chicken. What did I do, Panda? I'm going to have a little bit of water right now, because... Okay. Highly sensitive and acutely aware of what people's moods were because you had to. Yeah, I mean, I'm responding to what Hardcase said, but yeah, so, well, how much do I want to say about my childhood? My whole family has ADHD, I'll say that. My dad honestly probably has like some level of autism. Like not like it's the sort of thing that like he still held down good jobs and all kinds of stuff. But you know, when my parents were dating, my mom would go and visit my dad's parents' place and have tea with his mother while my dad stayed in his room playing Risk with himself. So that was their early dating, and but yeah, growing up, my mom did not know that she had ADHD, and so she would often get frustrated. Um, and my sister also didn't know that she had ADHD, and so sometimes my mom and sister would fight and yada yada. And I think at some point I probably just learned to try and always be meeting the emotional needs of other people to just try and make things more peaceful. Um, but eventually high school came, and then I took improv, and then I realized that yes, meeting the emotional needs of people is fun, but also sometimes making fun of them when they're being ridiculous is also very useful. Um, that's why it's called the spectrum. Yeah, spectrums are fun. Though sometimes when like everything's on a spectrum, you do definitely end up with people who are like, I'm a little bit this thing, and I'm gonna use it to excuse shitty behavior. And that can be frustrating. Um, Holy crap! There are 486 total viewers. Is that like concurrent, or like there have been that many since the start of the stream? That can't possibly be, since like that's got to be like people came in and then left. Um, UC 14. Okay, that makes more sense. Um, okay, cool. Currently at 15. Okay, that's more reasonable. 9,000 likes. Yeah, Ooh, okay. Um, okay. I got sidetracked. I forgot. Oh, right. I was talking about spectrums and stuff. Um, Fun fact, if you ever do graphic design with like hex values and stuff like that, you will eventually teach your brain to not think in terms of color being like red, yellow, and blue like they teach you in school with paint. Like if I think of color, I'm thinking of how much blue it has, how much yellow, or sorry, green it has, and how much red it has. Um, Also, at that point, like orange is not a color. Orange is just like red with a little bit of green in it. I mean, I believe you could get hundreds of viewers. Maybe someday. Top right hand corner tells you how many people are currently watching your live. I don't think it does on this website that I'm looking at. I do see I have 94 diamonds. Not sure what those do. 10,000 likes. That's a lot of likes. 3 new followers. You're precious. Am I using Live Studio? No, Live Studio is only on Windows. Apparently, if you have a Mac, TikTok hates you. I also think that TikTok isn't really like, we're going to do everything for people who are using Adobe Character Animator. So, I'm annoyed, but like, I'm not like, they're discriminating against me. But no, I do not run Windows. If I'm doing any gaming, I'm doing it on like my Nintendo Switch typically. So I don't game on my computer, so like my computer, the one that I have like the chicken set up on all that, that's an M4 Mac Mini. I also have an M2 MacBook Air. I've also got an old 2010 Mac Pro that a buddy saved from recycling that acts as a file server. I have to run. Please keep the content coming. Yeah, I will keep the content coming. I will probably do some more videos. I don't know how many new videos I'm going to have for tomorrow, just because it's Saturday night and that's generally light on news. I'm a Mac only household as well. Used to do tech support. Didn't want to do tech support at home. So yeah, I actually used to work for an internet service provider, and back then I had a 2011 MacBook Pro, and I used to joke with customers who I was on the phone with. I'd be like, you know what the funny part is? I spent twice as much on my computer as you so that I wouldn't have to deal with these problems, but then I come into work and all I deal with is walking people through uninstalling bloatware on Windows and getting yelled at by people who have Acers because they think their internet is slow because the computer takes a long time to start up. So, M2 MacBook Pro. Yeah, Macs are great. Macs are wonderful. I've been a Mac user for a very, very, very long time. I got my first one in 1999. M2 Mac Minis are so cheap, and they're the M2 Mac Minis are great. Though honestly, if anyone's buying a new Mac Mini right now, if money's not insanely tight, get yourself the M4. The single core performance on it is so impressive, and the newer the computer is, the longer Apple will tend to support it. You're generally, at least with the Intel models, you were typically looking at around 7 years of software support. We don't know exactly how it's going to work out for Apple Silicon Macs, especially since, like, I don't know if they're still selling M1 MacBook Airs through Walmart, but, like, Apple kept selling the M1 for a long time. So we'll see when they finally drop support, but either way, the M4 will be supported longer than the M2. So if you're buying now, get one with an M4 unless you're getting an insanely great deal. And a Windows user will likely pass away. A Windows user, I mean, Windows does kill. That makes sense. I am too poor for Macs. They're not cheap, though. Honestly, like, they're generally, honestly, kind of cheap compared to similarly capable Windows computers. It's really just that Apple avoids operating in the extreme low end, where it's really difficult to build a computer that cheap that will still be good. I'm on disability and on a budget. Yeah, well, I mean, if you're on disability, then for computer stuff, you're basically just hoping people throw out a computer near you. We do not give people on disability nearly enough money to survive, and if they do start making money, we tend to punish them because society sucks. I'm sorry about that, Killer Q. They're cheaper than Windows laptops nowadays, and they last forever. Yeah, no, I agree with you. Expos Forever. That's like a sports ball team, isn't it? Cool. Yeah. Well, this has been fun. I really didn't know how many people were going to come into a live if I did one. I was kind of thinking maybe I would like open it up and be like, oh, hey, nobody's here. Okay, bye. Can you change the color of your chat? The white on white makes it difficult to read. I have no idea if I can change that because I am using a program called Streamlabs. I honestly do not think I have no idea what the chat looks like. I'm sorry. Is it like the white on the chicken puppet? Like, I could move the chicken further up. Would that help? I wish I knew what this looked like. Can you switch the chat over your head? You know what I can do? Give me just a second. I'm going to move the puppet up. Position. Ooh, and I'm going to hide that. And now I'm going to do that. Okay, does that help? Someone tell me if it helps. Okay, yay, I'm perfect! That is what no teacher ever said. Cool. Maybe in the future I will put like a little black box down there and then I'll have a background. But oh, actually, you know what I could do? Okay, wait here. Because I do kind of like my little desk background. But just one second. Ooh, no. Beep. Y position. There we go. Sweet. Okay. Does that look lovely now? Haha. I am so smart. Smarty. Trump and RFK are planning a 60% flat tax on alcohol in America. Yeah, so, oh man. So alcohol is not a great thing. Science tells us that it's not good for you. However, if people are already addicted to something, simply charging more for it is a great way to encourage them to, I can't say that on YouTube or TikTok, to put something in their mouth and then their family cries. So, yeah. Were you the chicken that Steve Boots called out on YouTube? Yeah, I think he misunderstood what I was saying at one point. And then he like made it so that I couldn't say anything else in chat. And I was like, I'm gonna close my window and walk away. Which was really sad because I like him. And then I felt sad. But at the same time, I get the feeling that he was under a lot of stress. And I have seen in his streams that he says that he's an introvert. So sometimes introverts just like, they're kind of like a cat where if you pet them a whole lot, they eventually just claw you. So I didn't feel great, especially since I have not been taking my ADHD meds for a little bit. So I went and had a nap. I didn't see it. I was on Twitch. Yeah, so I was not reading the chat, and I think he was kind of replying to people in the chat, and so then I said something where I think he thought I was agreeing with people being racist, but I was just saying that in general, like, when people speak, you should have the audience in mind, like, so, and then, like, yeah, at one point he said something about, like, and then they said the English afterwards. I'm like, oh, I didn't even realize that they'd done that. Which, like, in fairness, I also just wasn't paying that much attention. So, yeah, like, I think I got on his nerves, and I certainly wouldn't want any sort of beef about it. So, yeah, I think let's have, yeah. Yeah, so it was just, like, some miscommunication stuff, and also, like, I'm kind of, like, the more I thought about it, the more I was like, do I even ever want to do something with the chat? Because I'd never want to have someone else, like, feel like I was getting mad at them because I didn't understand where they were coming from. So, yeah, it's weird. I don't think it should be like a big thing, but I don't know that I will in the future make much of an effort to chat when he's doing live stuff, because yeah. The frame has gone to him. What does that mean? Doing political commentary is difficult and straight. Yeah, it really is. And I definitely don't want to be one of those people who's like, let's have a beef between two people who are trying to do good. Overall, I really like his content, and I was just sad that I made him mad. But I really wasn't trying to. What about Small Town Leftist? I've had some chats with her. She always seemed lovely. Yeah, Boots, I've seen him, like, say some stuff on Blue Sky about how people keep criticizing him, and I can appreciate that. I feel like sometimes the more that you, like, engage with people who are criticizing you, the worse it makes things, and yeah, I mean, like, I used to work at a church, and it can be really stressful when you're the sort of person who wants to make everyone around you happy, because you can't. And I feel like Steve's probably also the sort of person who probably thinks that, like, if I just explain it a little better, I can teach them. And you like, especially with the people who, like, criticize for sport, that's ineffective. Like, they just want to be mad, and they're going to be mad. Yeah, people generally don't love it when you criticize them. And for the record, feel free to not criticize me. Like, you can feel free to, like, disagree with me, but, like, there's a difference between disagreeing with someone and criticizing them. So, for example, if I tell you that I like the musician Ben Platt, he is a gay Jewish Broadway person, very talented singer. He has said some things that I don't agree with about Israel. I don't like those things, but I still like his music. He has not done horribly touchy stuff. He has supported a military and state thing that does bad things, but so have a lot of people. And within the culture that he exists in, that's totally normal and expected. You know, so if I tell you that I like his music, and you tell me that I can't like his music and be, say, against Gaza or something like that, I would tell you, you're allowed to have that opinion, but I'm not really going to engage with you on that, because I'm not going to stop liking every single person who does creative things just because they're not 100% perfect, because otherwise I will be lonely and bored. And that doesn't help anyone in Gaza. Which, by the way, what is happening in Gaza? Just to be clear, absolutely terrible. That's why I'm nervous about dipping my toe in. Yeah, honestly, that's one of the reasons why I actually like using the puppet, because if ever people did decide that they just, like, hate something because I said the wrong thing and people want to, I could walk away. And people probably would not see me in the grocery store, hear my voice, and be like, you are the chicken that I disagree with. Yeah, good points. There's a difference between criticism and I accept his criticism of me. He's made me think a little deeper about myself occasionally. Yeah, I think so. in terms of like trying to educate people and like getting into those like deep conversations with people, sometimes you can do that, especially like one on one. That's definitely a thing. Um, in a large group sort of thing like this, um, the power dynamic is weird. Like I don't know. Maybe in some cases, if one of you guys wanted to ask me about something, yeah, no, I definitely think that Steve Boots is generally like a good faith actor. Um, and that is one thing that like we need to remember about people. Like, um, if someone's trying, that needs to be good enough. Um, we don't we shouldn't need people to be perfect, because when we need people to be perfect, then we end up with narcissists in charge, because normal people will not anticipate everything that they could possibly do that might make you upset with them. The only people who are ever going to do that are narcissists. Um, I argued against allowing to choose to swear in. Oh, swear on the Bible. I thought you should not be allowed. Yeah, so when it comes to religious stuff, people who are either agnostic or atheistic will often think that the solution to every problem is to get rid of religion. Um, Sorry, somebody was calling me. People will think that the solution is to just get rid of religion. Um, but what you really want to get rid of is narcissism. I'm going to go back to work with what was doing. Have a great night. Bye. Bye, Panda. Um, but yeah, so as someone who like has a theology degree and is not a Christian anymore, um, religion can cause certain problems, but trying to rob people of their religion causes a lot more problems, because in the same way that you would fight for a woman's bodily autonomy, because nobody should be forcing you to do something with your body that you don't want to do, as a rule, aside from like don't hit people with your body, I guess. But likewise, offering good, solid education really just is the best thing to do. Because if you try and force people to abandon deeply held religious beliefs, you're not just asking them to not believe in certain myths contained in a book. You're asking them to stop belonging to the faith community that they feel that they're a part of. And that's a violent ask for those people. You may think that it would be better for those people. I may think that that person will be happier if they no longer belong to that faith community, and if they don't identify with it so heavily. But that's the sort of choice that will only ever be healthy for that person if they choose to make it. If you pressure someone into that, you'll just end up harming them. But yeah, I just thought that everyone should swear on the Constitution. Yeah, I don't know. I know like the Americans really, really, really treat their Constitution like it's a magical thing. Um, I don't know that we want to move in that direction in Canada. I don't think that it would be good, because like currently they think that their Constitution is this magical thing that not only was low key delivered by God, but also can defend itself. I would much rather de-emphasize kind of our founding doctrines, because the more that you emphasize one thing, the more that you lead to people thinking of it as magical, if that makes sense. It's just a ceremony. Yeah, and like it really is the sort of thing that takes a few seconds and then it's done. Yeah. I'm gonna have a little drink of water. Okay, cool. If the Constitution is not given by God, why is it in the Trump Bible? Because people will buy things if you ensure they're not educated enough. There's actually a lot of people who take one passage of the Bible that says not to add anything to it, to mean that like adding additional books to the Bible would be like Heresy. Now, that's not actually what that passage means, because that passage would have been written well before the 66 books that make up the canon of Scripture were actually decided upon. Um, I actually, years ago, I heard someone say that, like, what is it? Martin Luther King Jr.'s books, like Letters from a Birmingham Jail, they suggest that those should be added to the Bible. And I thought that that was interesting. I didn't necessarily agree with them, and now I'm not a Christian, so I don't care. But adding the Constitution to it is silly. Very silly. Mormons did a lot of things. If you ever want an entertaining time, just look into the history of Mormonism, Latter Day Saints, all that stuff. There is a whole lot of American silliness that goes into the founding of the American Church. Actually, honestly, if you even just the founding of the Pentecostal movement. That when I was in Bible college, I did a paper about that, and I ended up reading like I think at least 4 books because it was insane. Do people want to hear the story of the founding of the Pentecostal church? Need to make the chicken packet. Oh my goodness. There's a lot of fun animations that I could do, but you'd get like no videos for a week and it probably still wouldn't look as good as it does in your head. Um, mhm. Yeah, okay. So the founding of the Pentecostal church, I'm not going to be citing any sources or whatever, but basically, you have this guy named Charles Parham. I can't remember exactly what dates he was alive. I want to say the 1920s, but I could definitely be wrong on the dates. So he is in Kansas, in a little city, and he gets the idea to start a Bible college, which is really just he finds people to learn about the Bible at his house to like be his little disciples. And Charles Parham is a bit of a grifter, and so he has these students who come to study the Bible with him. And one day, he decides that he's going to have them all read this one passage in the book of Acts. For those who don't know, the book of Acts tells the story of what the church does after the death and resurrection of Jesus. So it's just like the starting of the early Christian church. And one of the first things that happens is Pentecost, where you have the disciples minus Judas, and they are preaching, and the Holy Spirit descends on them with tongues of fire, and they can now preach in multiple different languages so that everyone can hear what God wants them to preach. And so Charles has all of these people in his Bible study group read this same passage and ask them, what is the evidence that someone is saved? And go figure, when you feed everyone all this one passage, one person says it and then a bunch of people agree with it, this idea that to be truly saved, you need to speak in tongues, which again is speaking a language other than what you normally speak so that you can preach the gospel. Of course, the people in Charles's Bible study group, college, whatever, they're not speaking real languages. They later but they think that they're speaking languages. So, like, if someone's going, oh, ching dong che, they are under the impression that they are speaking Chinese. Obviously, they are not. But they kind of all buy into this delusion. And so they end up actually spreading out to go to places like China and Africa and places like that to preach the gospel. And so, you get people who show up in China and they're like, oh, ching chong che, and the people in China are like, what the fuck? That's not our language. So then these people end up coming back to Kansas, and they're like, we thought we were speaking Chinese, but they don't even know what ching chong che means. And so then they decided, well, if we weren't speaking real languages, what were we speaking? And it turned out that they were to them, they determined that they were speaking the language of the angels, which was interesting. Apparently, no angels can understand what any of them are saying. The funny part is, people did studies on, because like charismatic Christianity blows up and becomes this massive thing. So you end up with like people doing academic studies on people who believe that they are speaking in these angelic languages, and there gotta be a hell of a lot of angelic language because none of them sound the same. And people studied them, and they were like, none of these seem to have like syntax or grammar. So at the end of the day, people can believe whatever they want, but what it looks like is when people are speaking in tongues, they're just kind of like letting it out, like kind of if you know when you're in like those group workshops or things like that, and people are like, let's just stand up and let's just roll our shoulders and give it a shake and a shimmy, and like they pretend like that's dancing sort of thing. That's kind of like what it is, but it's for your voice. It feels fun to. I've never like spoken in tongues, but I have had instances in my life where you know you just go like, I'm gonna sing a funny little song with no lyrics and go blah 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 blah, and if you do that for long enough and you have some fun with it, it feels good. And so in some cases, you have these people doing this stuff in this public worship context and going, blah, 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 and they feel better, and then they attach like a supernatural significance to that. But anyway, going back to Charles Parham, yeah, eventually this group of people that he has, they kind of stick together and they spread this message to everyone that, you know, if you're not speaking in the tongues of angels, you're not really saved. And of course, this is America pre-internet, most people even being literate, let alone able to really think critically. And of course, nobody wants to go to hell. And again, the whole blah 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 thing, it feels fun to do. So you end up with this whole like wave of pseudo mysticism sweeping over much of the Christian church, because again, nobody wants to go to hell, and you have people who are very confidently doing silly things, telling you that if you don't do this stuff, you're going to go to hell. Yeah, that's my off-the-cuff version of the start of the Pentecostal church, and you know, after that, you get into like Azusa Street and all that sort of stuff. I'm going to step away for 2 seconds and refill my water glass. Okay, I'm back. I should probably recalibrate that puppet. Okay. So, have you witnessed this? I have many times, and it's bizarre. Should see 8 to 10 going at it. You know, I've been in some church contexts where people did silly things. I've had a number of contexts where people really wanted to do interpretive dance during worship. Never around. I think I've been around like one or two people who like spoke in tongues. I had a pastor once who told me about some friends of his who they were in the seminary together, and they ended up going to a random church that ended up being charismatic. And one of them decided to have a little bit of fun, and so he spoke Hebrew. So at one point he stood up and he started reciting one of the Psalms, and he did it in Hebrew, and a bunch of people were like, "Whoa, this is amazing!" And of course, you know, if you're going to have someone speaking in tongues in church, you have to have someone translate. And it turns out the translation of that psalm in Hebrew was actually that people needed to donate towards the church's building fund. So, that's a fun story. Okay, anybody have any other questions or I swear to this, I saw a group actually go outside and ran circles around the church. Oh, I mean, that's not the weirdest thing that I ever saw in church. I think one of the weirdest things that I saw, they were always like youth group events. Like, I used to help run a youth group at an Alliance church, and the actual youth pastor, he would just like find ideas and not realize like this is maybe not a good idea. And so they would do things like Jello wrestling. At one point, I didn't actually go to this event because I had to be somewhere else, but at one point he told me that they were going to do a boy dress night. And it was basically just a drag show. And I'm like, dude, I'm okay with this, but you realize, like, this is just drag night, right? He's like, no, this isn't drag. This is just the boys are going to put on dresses and wigs and makeup, and they're going to do a fashion show. And I was like, okay, I mean, I can't be here for it, but if you awaken a kid's new drag persona, that's on you. And I heard that the senior pastor's youngest son just he slayed. Oh, it was really strange going to church 3 times. Yeah, I used to go to church on Sunday mornings. I used to go to Wednesday evening prayer meetings. There was generally youth group on Sunday night or Friday nights, or sometimes Friday and Sunday nights. Yeah, it's like the nice aspect, and one of the reasons why so many people end up being involved in churches is because it's nice to have a community that you belong to where you don't necessarily have to earn your place, especially as people get older. Because the older that you get, the more people stop making new friends. Like, the older that you get, the more that you're going to run into people who are like the same age as you, and they already have all the friends that they want. Even if they're kind of lonely, they don't want to go to the effort of making new friends. Whereas if you're at either a new job or a religious organization, then within that context of participating, people are more open to making new friends. Um, I forgot about youth groups. I was just a visitor, wasn't joining those. Then there were the Thursday night youth events. Yeah, twice on Sundays, morning and evening and Wednesday. Oh my. Wait, did you go to like one of those churches where they have the Sunday morning service and like another Sunday evening service? Man, churches like that, that's where like the pastor just really likes to have people hear them talking. Um, I used to work at a church, and getting up and talking in front of a large group of people, like, it's fun, but it's stressful. I used to, whenever I had to like be up on stage, like, I pulled it off. I was charismatic. I knew that I was going to get fired as soon as people started telling me within earshot of the senior minister that the kids' time was now their favorite part of the service, because the senior minister was competitive but also very boring, and she did not like me. She was also a turf though. It was weird, like a university auditorium style church. Yeah. Um, a lot of churches are like that now. It's cheaper to design a church like that, honestly. The Roman Catholic Catechism after Mass was bad, but didn't have to spend any time away from family. Yeah, that's. I never went to any sort of Roman Catholic stuff, which I'm thankful for, because it all seems like it's probably kind of like torture for anyone with ADHD. Also, Catholic theology is like, evangelical theology can be weird, but Catholic theology, a lot of it is just like, people believed this a few hundred years ago, and we don't want to do a new draft. Yeah, United Church of Canada. It's outside of like the Unitarians or something like that. Yeah, most left wing church, though. Like, also like socially progressive in some cases, but like culturally still very colonial. And yeah, I used to work in a United Church, and never again, because the higher you get up, the least mentally well people are. Not going to go into it here, but yeah, would never work in a United Church again. Yeah, had issues, of course. Yep, that's yeah. Well, so like I don't want to have anyone feel like if they go to a United Church that I hate them. I don't. Especially like if you're not a clergy, like you're just a normal person in the pews. There's a lot of really lovely people in the United Church. It's really just once you get higher up. Um, did the puppet? Is it still? Why did you stop working, puppet? Oh, it thought I was recording. Okay, it's back to normal. I need to not tap on my keyboard. But yeah, I don't ever want to try and be like hurtful to anyone who is still a Christian or belongs to that, because like when I was a Christian, sometimes I would see someone who like I really liked their writing or what they were doing, and then they would say something like really uninformed about Christianity, and it would be hurtful. And in a lot of cases, those actually made me cling more to what I saw as my faith, but like my identity in the church. And now that I'm not a Christian, I'm much happier. I don't feel like I have the weight of the world on my shoulders so much. I can fill up my car with gas without feeling too much guilt. Yeah, I just used to always feel such a strong need to do everything right and to always sacrifice my own happiness to try and compensate for other people taking too much or whatever, and it wasn't healthy. Um, I was just impressed to see a female minister. Yeah, female clergy can be great. Though it's kind of funny, like sometimes you get female clergy and they're fantastic and wonderful. Other times you get like the flip side of it where like, yeah, they're female clergy, but they've learned the lesson that to get ahead they need to be just as awful as the boys. And that's sometimes why you'll see you get like a lot of rhetoric that positions itself as if it represents feminist thought, and too often you get like these really pat answers for like how to fix everything, and often the solution to every problem is put more women in charge. And it's like, I'm all for more women being in charge, especially since a lot of the time the men that are in charge are awful. But when you just put women in charge who have learned to be as awful as the men, then it's generally just as bad, only there's a little bit more perfume in the air, and then I'm sicker. So I think a lot of the things are better than they were in the 80s. If you're talking in the United Church, maybe, I don't know, I haven't been part of a United Church for almost 10 years, I guess 8 years now, probably. Everyone is in everyone's business there, especially if you grew up in the days of party lines. You're talking about PEI? Yeah. Well, PEI is pretty tiny, eh? So, yeah. Oh, yeah. That would be. I will say I'm happy that like I have my apartment, and largely I don't even know my neighbors. I do know the lady who lives like right across from me. She's a retired nurse, which is great because previously there was an old German couple there, and they were evil. They would use these air fresheners from a company called Sensi's, and they like you get like little bits wafting under my door, and it was like a knife in my brain. um I had to like weather strip the door of my apartment and like put a dust skirt and stuff like that, and oh, it's terrible. And like the worst thing is, since I've started taking mushrooms, it's not nearly as bad when I have a reaction. But what was happening back then, I think, was the perfume, in addition to triggering a migraine, was also triggering kind of like a PTSD flashback. So I would end up having these emotions that are from different times in my life, like when people who I cared about were genuinely in danger, and they were terrifying, but they were being caused by a bad smell. Um, it's terrible. Multiple houses share the same phone line. Could listen to a different pattern of ring set. Yeah, PTSD shining the light on my trauma. Yeah, no, no light needs to be put on my trauma. Um, yeah, I'm definitely glad that I never had a party line. Granted, I don't think I ever really talked on the phone with anyone growing up where I would have ever said something. I do remember when we finally got unlimited long distance. I remember there was this one guy from a message board for a band that I liked, and we exchanged phone numbers. And so my family had unlimited long distance, and I phoned him, and we talked for hours, and it was like, oh, this is so cool, I'm talking to somebody from Ontario, I can't believe it. uh, the early 2000s. um, yeah, that was crazy back then. I am anxiously awaiting our next election. I'm gonna choose to not be excited for the next election, at least for now, because like I just I remember wanting the American election to be over because I was sure Kamala was going to win, and she didn't. So, as it gets closer to the election, I'll probably make lots of election-themed content, but for now, I'm just not thinking about it. Anyone ever do one of those clandestine three-way calls where one of you pretends to not be on the phone? I don't think I think maybe I like listened to a few calls a little bit, but I always felt so much guilt. I'm inside. Jeff looks like he's going to lose, but not super impressed with the other options. Yeah, I think it's pretty likely that that the tiny angry man loses, but at the same time, like an election campaign will go on for a while. Also, like I've seen some of the polling, and the conservatives are still up a lot higher than they have any right to be. I think it would probably be a good idea if Carney doesn't call an election immediately, but I don't know, whatever. Yeah, I'm sure he's got like very well paid strategists who will tell him when the best time to do it is. Yeah, I part of me has thought about whether or not I want to call him Jeff. Um but Jeff is a cooler name than Pierre. So, like, Jeff is more like low key, like, I can get along with a Jeff. I've never met a Jeff that I hated. If he went by, like, Jeffrey, maybe then. But, like, Jeff's a chill name. Pierre makes him sound more uppity. Yeah. Oh, my throat's or my mouth is really dry, and I don't want to overdo it. So this has been fun, but I feel like I should wrap this up. Um, it's been somebody just joined. I feel hi Junkie. How are you doing? Um, oh, thank you. I bye. Yeah, I'm gonna wrap this up. Thanks for everyone who joined, and you guys were great. This was really fun. Holy crap, I was on for an hour and 25 minutes. Okay, bye. How do I close this now? And